You're watching WHSV News 3. 11 minutes of nonstop news and weather starts right now.
For neighborhoods that live in fear for an entire day, we are eternally grateful for the outcome here tonight. We have a suspect in custody.
Cheers as news of the bombing suspect's arrest spreads, a city breathing a sigh of relief. And tonight, the manhunt is over. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for staying up with us tonight. I'm Deon Guillory. Allison Bruner has the night off. And here are the breaking details in this case. Take a look at this. You can see the suspect's picture right there on your screen. That's straight from the FBI's website that now shows him captured. Investigators say the 19-year-old is in serious condition. The FBI has taken 3 other people into custody who have a connection to this case, and the president is saying he will do everything he can to protect the American people. This story is something that everyone is talking about tonight, including Marcy Gonzalez. She is live tonight in Watertown, Massachusetts, with the suspect's journey to justice. Marcy, what can you tell us about what's going on right now?
Good evening. Police found the suspect injured and hiding just blocks from where they lost sight of him overnight, and you could just feel the collective sigh of relief across Boston tonight.
Applause at the dramatic end to a tense manhunt.
We have a suspect in custody.
The second suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings in custody, found hiding in a boat in a yard just outside of Boston in Watertown, Massachusetts.
We exchanged gunfire with the suspect who was inside the boat, and ultimately the hostage rescue team of the FBI made an entry into the boat and removed the suspect.
After a shootout and standoff, 19-year-old Johar Tsarnaev was taken alive by ambulance. Unlike his brother, 26-year-old Tamerlan Tsarnaev, his alleged co-conspirator in Monday's deadly attack. The brothers, U.S. residents of Chechnyan ethnicity, were tracked down last night after police say the pair ambushed MIT officer Sean Collier, fatally shooting him in his patrol car, then carjacked this SUV, leading police on a wild chase, firing weapons and throwing explosives. SWAT teams spent the day canvassing the neighborhood, going door to door as more than 1 million residents of the greater Boston area were put on lockdown. But tonight, this city and this nation can rest a bit easier.
We've closed an important chapter in this tragedy.
And we're told the suspect was taken to Beth Israel Hospital, badly bleeding. We still don't know the full extent of his injuries, but of course, investigators are hoping to be able to question him as soon as possible to find out the motive for the bombings. Live in Watertown, Massachusetts, Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News. Now back to you.
All right, thank you, Marcy. And new at 11, tonight we are hearing from the bombing suspect's parents, their mother saying there is no way her sons are guilty of such a heinous crime.
It's impossible for them, for both of them to do such things. So I'm really telling that this is a setup. My son would tell me. My son never would keep it in secret. So I would know, whoever would be, knowing that if there is anyone who would know, it would be me.
The bombing suspect's father claims someone framed his sons and accuses police of being cowards because they shot and killed his oldest son.
It's all because I'm afraid for my son and his life. They should arrest him, maybe, and bring him, but alive. And justice should decide who's right and who is guilty.
And the father says he was taken into custody by Russian security forces and questioned about his sons for several hours before being released. New at 11, it's the picture seen around the world. The FBI releasing the photo of the former most wanted man in America. We've all seen it. This picture taken by a runner who snapped it just seconds after the Boston bombings.
Last night I thought to myself, my God, I actually think I hit the lottery that I took that one picture that could have been helpful. So it's about the greatest win I could have ever had right there to have helped.
Green, who runs a sportswear company, says he's happy he provided such a key piece of evidence that ultimately led to that arrest. He says he is committed to running the marathon again next year. And new at 11, runners in the Valley will not let the Boston bombing stop them from running. WHSV's David Coy explains what the runners are doing to show support for the victims. He continues our team coverage. David.
Deon, runners say they are a tight-knit group and they won't stop running. 2 of the runners who were actually in the Boston Marathon during the explosion, they both say they were lucky to be away from the blast. Just 4 days after the Boston bombings, runners are still hitting the pavement. Mary Nelson says she finished the race faster than expected.
If I had made any decision to stay or if I had run 5 minutes slower, we would have been right there.
Nelson was 2 blocks away from the explosion.
It sounded just like a boom, and in downtown Boston, you definitely don't expect there to be a bomb going off.
Showing the support for victims, 80 people pre-registered for the race, as well as an additional 15 people came out.
Do it for Boston, do it for yourselves, and do it because you have the right to.
Paul Schiffler also ran the Boston Marathon. He and his wife were at a restaurant a half block away from the blasts. They were put on lockdown seconds later.
It was just a crazy time. We didn't know exactly what all was going on outside. We started getting more information. It was kind of it was scary. And
he was held in lockdown for more than 6 hours.
Just to think that, 15 minutes earlier, we were right down the street where it happened, so it was kind of chilling.
Yeah. Nelson was asked to talk to the runners about her experiences. She says she thought of Psalm 47 before her speech.
It's a time to remember the people who were affected in a very painful and personal way and to pray for them.
Both runners agree this isn't going to stop them from doing what they love.
We're not going to let this stop us. We're going to run. That's what we do, and look forward to be back in Boston next year, going back next year, so really excited about it already.
Now, all the runners and the supporters signed a memorial wall, and it will be sent to the Boston Marathon organization. Most of the proceeds raised will go to charities. Deon.
All right, David, thank you. New at 11, Eastern Mennonite University's track team is running for the victims of the Boston bombings this weekend. EMU's track team posted this picture on the Track and Field Coaches Association's Facebook page. It was posted along with many other schools showing support for Boston. EMU will wear blue and yellow ribbons to remember all the victims.
I thought it was just a really good way for runners who understand what the people running the Boston Marathon had gone through as far as training and what that meant to them, and to see that taken away from them. I mean, it's the least we could do to do something.
She says she feels the running community has come closer together since the attack. And several people from the Valley were in the Boston Marathon. Carol Clark, she's from Luray and was hundreds of feet away from the explosion. WHSV's Elizabeth Lamb tells us how the race changed Clark's life. She continues our team coverage.
This is the medal Carol Clark got for crossing the finish line at the Boston Marathon minutes before 2 bombs exploded.
I turned, saw the white smoke, and then immediately saw the next explosion.
That's when she knew something was wrong.
It's a bomb, and of course I'm trying to process everything, and the next thing I thought of was 9/11. I mean, I couldn't help but think of September 11th, and I immediately looked up to the sky just to see if we were under attack or something.
Clark made it out safely. Volunteers helped her find her hotel and reunite with her husband.
What I saw with the volunteers and with the law enforcement, I mean, they're so unselfish in what they do and what they give. They were wonderful.
Clark says she's lucky to have gotten away quickly. She didn't see much carnage and headed to safety.
I can't even imagine what the families and the victims are going through.
She's back safely in Luray, but will always remember the explosions.
Just still processing everything. Yeah, I don't think I've realized the final conclusion for me yet as far as how I feel about it.
The blasts made Clark forget about having just completed a marathon. Now she's focused on the work law enforcement has done so far in the investigation.
It makes you feel really good how quickly the response and how quickly law enforcement has acted successfully.
In Luray, Elizabeth Lamb, WHSV.
The Boston Marathon was Clark's first. She says the bombings won't keep her from competing again in Boston.
Our hour-by-hour forecast lets you know when inconvenient weather is ahead and what it means for your plans. WHSV's First Alert Storm Team.
And conditions weather-wise have quieted down as well. Take a look at these rainfall totals from earlier this evening. Bob and Stuart Straff said 1.35 inches pretty much came from one single thunderstorm cell, and we're ranging from a little over 1.25 inches to just under 1/2 inch for most areas. Harrisonburg and Stanley also coming in right at 1/2 inch for tonight. So a wide range of numbers, and right now we're looking at just a few isolated showers in our area, just one small little light band that's continuing to move through. The bulk of the energy is off the East Coast, but we have a part of this upper level system that's continuing to rotate around. Notice some snow showers over parts of the Ohio Valley. Some areas in the western higher elevations could actually see some of those light snow showers. We do also have a freeze warning for parts of West Virginia, so those cooler temperatures are going to be continuing to settle in for tonight. Our temperature already down to 58 degrees, but even noticing the dew point down into the mid-40s. This is down about 20 degrees from 6 o'clock, so that gives us a great indication that, yes, this front is through, and this drier, cooler air is going to continue to filter in for tonight. Winds still on the breezy side, and they'll continue to stay breezy overnight. Area temperatures ranging from around 50 degrees in wintergreen, mid-50s, even into the mid-40s right now for Franklin. So it is going to be a rather cold night. Notice these cooler temperatures really filtering in, and that's going to stay in place as we head into the weekend. All of this behind our front, so staying dry for tonight. And we're noticing our wind shift out of the west-northwest. Notice Futurecast trying to pick up on some of those light snow showers for the very far western facing slopes. Kind of interesting as we head towards the middle of April, and that are almost towards the end of April. Lots of sunshine for our Saturday and even for the rest of the weekend, but we will stay windy into Saturday as well, so keep that in mind. It will make it feel a little cooler at times. Overnight lows, upper 40s for the valley, mid 40s for the higher elevations, even into the upper 30s into parts of Highland County and some isolated areas. Cooler into the northern portions of the area towards Moorfield and Woodstock, coming in at 44 degrees, 43 in Moorfield for tonight. So temperatures starting on the cool side for tomorrow. We are only going to start in the upper 40s for the morning hours and very slow to warm. Notice staying in the upper 40s throughout mid-morning, low 50s throughout the lunchtime hour. Lots of sunshine for tomorrow, but definitely some cooler temperatures in place. Mid-50s for the highlands, around 60 degrees for the valley, but winds 10 to 20 miles an hour, especially along some of those higher ridge lines. Take a look as we head into the next 7 days. The sunshine continues for Sunday, and it will feel better even though our temperature is going to not really warm a whole lot. The winds will be dying down, so that will make Sunday feel a little bit more enjoyable outside. As we head into the beginning of next week, we look for clouds to return. Temperatures staying fairly moderate, right around 60 degrees. And then into next week, well, temperatures low to mid 60s, but our next chance of rain will come as we head towards the middle of the week. Looks like our next storm system, and that could bring us some showers, maybe a thunderstorm or two.
But April showers bring May flowers, so we don't mind this rain every now and then.
Lots of flowers outside. There's a lot of green outside, so the rain is always good, especially for the springtime. And we got a good amount of rain, so nothing to be concerned with.
Excited about the weekend?
Yes.
All right, Aubrey. Remembering the victims of another terrorist bombing in America, how Oklahoma City bombing victims were honored. But first, the bombing suspect brothers. We go in depth tonight to find out who they really are. New at 11, the two suspects in the Boston Marathon bombings are brothers, just 19 and 26 years old. Dan Kloffler goes in depth tonight to find out what would make them commit such an act of terror. He continues our team coverage.
Profilers are baffled. The two brothers suspected of carrying out the Boston Marathon bombings have been described as funny, smart kids who loved America and are incapable of carrying out the deadly attacks. But authorities say 19-year-old Johar Tsarnaev and 26-year-old Tamerlan Tsarnaev did indeed plant those deadly pressure cooker bombs near the finish line. A neighbor describes Johar, dubbed by the FBI as suspect number 2, as behaving nothing like a terrorist.
This is so out of character from anything I know about this man, this young man. He couldn't have been more forthcoming. He couldn't have been more gracious.
Johar has been in the U.S. since he was 7. He graduated from the prestigious Ringe and Latin High School in Cambridge. His former classmates stunned at the horrific crimes he's accused of.
Even though he was a wrestler and maybe possibly a boxer, if I ever heard, Johar, getting into a fight with him, I'd be like, Johar, because he's such a nice guy,
He was, a good student, a very nice person. It's just absolutely shocking and horrifying for all of us. It seems like a nightmare.
How does someone go from being the nice kid to being a radical? And what we've learned is it can happen very, very quickly. They can get online, they can somehow be radicalized by the videos they see on jihadist websites. They can learn how to make bombs online.
Tamerlan's wrestling coach also says he can't understand how one of his star athletes could have turned so violent.
If I was asked 2 days before the bombing what I thought of this young man, I'd say he was a fine young man, very good athlete, very courteous. I'm shocked beyond belief that he's involved.
Equally shocked and angry, the suspect's uncle, who says he's ashamed to hear his nephews could be behind the bombings.
Of course, we're ashamed. Yes, we're ashamed. They're children of my brother.
ABC News spoke with the suspect's father, who is in Russia, and he too is stunned that his sons are suspected of the bombings. He simply said, "I don't understand. It can't be." Dan Kleffler, ABC News, New York.
And as the world remains focused on the terrorist attacks in Boston, Oklahoma City is remembering the bombing there from 18 years ago. At a remembrance ceremony, 168 seconds of silence symbolizing every one of those victims. Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were convicted of murder in the case. New details tonight in that deadly explosion in Texas. Investigators saying they have discovered 12 bodies so far, and the actual number of dead is still not confirmed. This aerial video shows what's left of the West Fertilizer Company, and you can see almost nothing, just rubble. The scope of the destruction is clearly visible. Investigators are still trying to determine what caused the fire that sparked the blast. A police chase, and the man leading them thinks he's getting away, and you can see it's all caught on camera what cops did to get him to stop, and a pardon decades in the making. Now to 3 more stories, all new at 11. Waynesboro police looking for the person responsible for breaking into a landscape and gardening business. Police tell us it happened at the Waynesboro Landscape and Garden Center on West Main Street. Police say the crooks broke in the front door and stole more than $2,000. If you know anything that can help police, call Crime Stoppers at the number right there on your screen, 1-800-322-2017. The governor of Alabama has signed a bill that lays the groundwork to posthumously pardon 9 young black men. The so-called Scottsboro boys were accused of raping 2 white women back in the 1930s. One of the accusers eventually admitted to making up the whole thing. Charges were dropped against some of the men, but others were still convicted in retrials.
This doesn't bring it to a conclusion, but what it does is it brings us to the point that we realize that a mistake was made, and we're going to right that wrong.
Governor Bentley says the bill is the result of a bipartisan cooperative effort. It unanimously passed the legislature. Police in California have a suspect in custody after a high-speed chase, and it's all caught on camera. Take a look at this. Police say the driver of this silver Mitsubishi refused to stop, so an officer eventually rammed the rear of the car, then crashed into the side of it. Take a look at that. The suspect is facing charges of evading police, speeding, and reckless driving. So you never want to speed away from the police. They're going to get you.
No, that's a bad idea. There was some good video.
Yeah,
though.
great video.
Holy cow.
But you've been chasing gains all night.
Oh, yeah. We've been keeping an eye on a few things.